Welcome back. Can the company behind Facebook and Instagram be held responsible for claims it contributed to harming young users? In Oakland today, 4 states began making their case against Meta in federal court, with a broader coalition of 29 states also pursuing federal claims over children's data. California's Deputy Attorney General telling jurors Meta knew about children's vulnerability to rewards, social feedback, and impulse control, and alleged the company used that knowledge to design its platforms to hook young users. The states seeking financial penalties and changes to how Facebook and Instagram operate. Meta denies misleading users about safety, saying it has put significant effort into protecting teens. The 6-week trial expected to include testimony from CEO Mark Zuckerberg and Instagram chief Adam Mosseri. Joining us now is Donna Hughes, President and CEO of Enough is Enough. For more than 3 decades, Donna has been a pioneering leader on the front lines of efforts to make the internet safer for children and families. Donna, thank you so much for joining us. Great to have you. Now, California's Deputy Attorney General said in her opening statement today that Meta's business model relies on exploiting young people's data and mental health. Now, she also accused the company of misleading the public about the safety of its platforms. Now, as an expert on children's online safety based on your own experience and research, how would you respond to this California official's allegations?
Well, I believe that historically, she's making very valid points. We know it's not just Meta, by the way. All these companies have built their business model around these algorithms that are intentional by design to addict its users, whether they're children or they're adults. So that's just the way the business model works. Now, Meta, of course, is the big elephant in the room. So many of these cases are going against Meta, but all these companies are guilty of the same thing. That they know that their products are designed to hook children. They also know that their platforms, whether they're social media or gaming platforms, are allowing criminal enterprises like the predators, traffickers, pornographers, multi-billion-dollar criminal enterprises to use their platforms to sexually exploit and abuse children. And now, of course, big tech has also become a predator as well. So these lawsuits are very, very important. And we're starting to see a real paradigm shift in how these companies are going to be treated by the courts and by Congress for that matter.
Now, this case was brought in 2023 by a bipartisan group of 29 state attorneys general. What does that tell you about how Americans across the country view this issue?
Well, it tells me a lot of things. First of all, that you have this is a bipartisan issue. It's actually a nonpartisan issue that has wide bipartisan support. So that's very important, not just with the state attorneys general, but also with members of Congress, whether they are in state legislatures or in the federal House or the Senate. So these are people are concerned about kids. Kids are being irreparably harmed, and unfortunately, many are dying because of what is happening on these platforms. Now, at Enough is Enough, we've been out on the forefront of these issues since 1994, since before social media was even, a blink in Zuckerberg's eye. But we have called on the big tech community since then to voluntarily put the safety of children and all of its users over profits, but they don't do that. And one of the opening witnesses today said, hey, their policy at Meta was move fast and break things. Unfortunately, they move fast to market and they're harming kids and sometimes destroying their lives.
And Meta is facing thousands of lawsuits over the same issue and has already lost 2 similar cases. Now, if Meta loses this case, it could fundamentally change how its platforms operate. What changes would you like to see?
Well, it's the same changes we've been fighting for many, many years. We want safety by design, the defaults all turned on. Right now, parents are mainly the only line of defense to protect their children. They cannot shoulder all this alone. So, all these platforms need to turn on the most strict filters, the most strict safety features that are available on their platforms. And they all need to be doing this. And this is why a Senate law or a Senate bill, COSA, the Kids Online Safety Act, is so very important. The other thing is the social media platforms, none of them were built for kids in mind. In fact, when you think back with Mark Zuckerberg, when he developed Facebook with his college buddies, this was designed for college age students and over, never designed even for teenagers. So we want to see the age restrictions, which are 13 years old, according to the privacy laws right now. There needs to be age verification put into place. We know these big tech companies can do that. They are doing it in other countries. They can actually age restrict and put the technology in place to verify if someone is over the age of 13. They haven't done that. They can do it. In Florida, they actually require these social media companies to do that. And in Florida, they are doing it because it's state law. So we need this to go nationwide. And let me just say this, look, CS Mott Hospital put out a survey. They do one every year, but this year they found that of the top health concerns of US parents, four were all related to internet safety. Internet safety, screen time, suicide, social media were all up there in the top five concerns at 75%. So parents are concerned, Congress is concerned, and finally, these brilliant lawyers and AGs have found a way to get around Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act, which has given these platforms an immunity that Congress had never really intended in the beginning. And so now, with going after the design features, which is what this California case does, and what the previous California case did, which was really a test bed for this bigger one, they said, hey, we can get around the content issue by looking at the intentional design flaws from the business model of Meta and all the other platforms, not just Meta. It's not just Meta.
And digging into that, Donna, the four states leading the case, California, Colorado, Kentucky, and New Jersey, are collectively seeking as much as $1.4 trillion in damages. Can such fines truly address the alleged harm social media has caused children?
Well, look, these are multi-billion-dollar companies. Most all of them are multi-billion-dollar companies. So when you get massive fines, even the New Mexico case, which total about 975 million, that's enough to get these companies' attention, and not just Meta's attention. They were the ones that were fined in the New Mexico case, but all the other companies because they're going, oh my gosh, they can come after our bottom line, and they care about the bottom line. Currently, 11 of the top big tech companies are spending $230,000 a day lobbying governments to fight any legislation to regulate them. So now the courts are saying, okay, while you figure it out in Congress, we're going to go after you another way. And it's working. It really is working. And what I hope happens is that these companies just say, okay, you know what? Let's just do the right thing. Let's just flip the switch. Enough is enough has a campaign called Flip the Switch. Just all the safety defaults are off right now. Just turn them all on. Turn everything on. Make it easier for parents. Put safety over profits. Protect kids. Protect your bottom line and do the right thing.
And as you mentioned, concerns over social media's impact on young people are growing worldwide. To your point, countries including Australia, the UK, and France have taken steps to restrict younger users' access. How do you view that trend, and do you think restrictions or bans can work?
They do work. It's not just can they work, they do work. We found in Australia was the first country to do this within 48 hours of them restricting kids. I think it was under 16 in Australia. They're all kind of have different ages depending on the country. Um, the companies were kicking off kids that they already knew who they were and what their ages were. They just stopped disable began to disable those underage users' accounts. So they can do it and it does work. Do I believe that we'll see that happen in our federal government? I do not, because of the amount of lobbying dollars going against something which is so fundamental, like the Kids Online Safety Act. It really is just putting a duty of care on these companies to do the right thing. It's not a ban. It's just, put the safety features in place, have this duty of care, put safety over profits, etc. And they have fought this for 3 years in a row. 3 years in a row. So when I say they, I mean all of them. They don't want to see this regulation, but it'd be a much cheaper for Meta to have done the right thing to begin with. And I really do hope some of these other companies have to cough up some money too, because it's like I said, it's not just Meta.
Well, Donna Hughes, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Thank you.